This couple is crazily in love and had a beautiful wedding, but just a few months later, everything starts to fall apart. One day, he meets his first love again, pretty and confident. He gives in to temptation and spends the night with her while his wife is out of town. But when the landlady tells his wife he came home incredibly late, her suspicion grows. Let's begin. The movie opens with Young Min, an ordinary man in his 30s who works a quiet government job. He texts his friends and asks the question that has been weighing on his heart: should I marry Mi Young? They've been together for 4 years, yet lately they have been arguing every day. One friend tells him, just do it. Being single is lonely. But the married friend warns him, think carefully, marriage isn't easy. Young Min listens to both sides, but deep down, he feels stuck. But after all, 4 years is a long time, and marriage felt like the next natural step in any relationship. They marry, promising to love each other, to stay together no matter how hard things get. On the first days of living together, everything feels new and warm. They laugh easily, cling to each other, and enjoy every small moment, cooking meals together and being intimate every night. The next morning, they run into their landlord from downstairs. She forces a smile and tells them she understands that they are newlyweds, but her children need to study, so they should be more considerate and not make so much noise. Mi Young bows politely, embarrassed, and Young Min laughs awkwardly. At work, Young Min can't stop smiling at his phone, sending messages to Mi Young. His supervisor catches him and tells him off. The mood darkens even more when Young Min asks about a promotion. The supervisor looks at him and says, "Your performance is terrible. You should be ashamed to even bring it up." The words burn him. He works at a community center, helping people every day, yet he is treated like he's worthless. Later, a woman arrives asking for help at the center. It is Seung-hee, someone Young Min hasn't seen since high school. He is surprised and happy to see her, and the two laugh about their old memories. Seung-hee casually asks if he wants to grab dinner. Before he can answer, Mi Young's call lights up his phone. For a moment he hesitates. Then, without thinking, he rejects it. He smiles at Seung-hee and says, "Sure, let's go." Meanwhile, Mi Young is at the art academy, teaching children how to draw. She glances at her phone between classes. Still no reply. She wonders what he's doing and why he didn't answer her call. That night, Young Min and Seung-hee meet with their group of friends. They drink, laugh, and catch up. One of them suggests, "Let's go visit your new place." Young Min freezes. He knows Mi Young will be unhappy, but he also knows his friends will tease him if his wife refuses. He calls Mi Young and informs her, but the moment she hears his voice, frustration spills out. She didn't plan for guests. She wanted a quiet evening with her husband. But Young Min, embarrassed in front of his friends, lies. He forces a smile and announces loudly, "Mi Young is cooking something delicious for all of us." But in reality, he had asked her to order food. Later, Mi Young waits downstairs for the food she ordered. Then she sees Young Min walking in with his friends. He introduces Seung-hee to Mi Young, and her smile freezes the moment she learns that Seung-hee is a girl. All this time, Young Min talked about an old friend from school, but she never imagined it would be a pretty woman. One of the guys says cheerfully, "Thank you for cooking such a big feast." But before she can respond, the delivery riders arrive with multiple bags of dishes she never cooked. Everyone goes silent. The lie is exposed in an instant. Back home, the apartment is loud and chaotic. The guys are drinking and laughing in the living room, completely unaware of the tension hanging in the air. Mi Young stays in the kitchen, rushing to add more dishes like a real hostess, but muttering under her breath about how annoying they all are. Later, Seung-hee starts singing. Her voice is beautiful. All the men, including Young Min, stare at her like she's an angel. Mi Young watches from the kitchen doorway and feels a tinge of jealousy. A little later, Young Min goes in to check on her. He apologizes for the sudden visit. She says she's fine, but her face tells the truth. Still, in front of his friends, she acts like a polite, perfect wife. Then someone calls out, "Mi Young, sing something for us." She tries to decline, but Seung-hee smirks and says, "If she's not good, we shouldn't force her." That one sentence slices into Mi Young's pride. She stands up and says firmly, "I'll sing." But when she begins, her voice cracks. She sings out of tune, and one by one they start laughing. Hours later, the gathering finally ends. But the apartment is a disaster. Bottles, tissues, plates, crumbs everywhere. Young Min stares at the mess with defeated eyes, but he sighs and begins to clean quietly, washing every plate, wiping the table, picking up trash. Mi Young watches him from afar. Her anger softens just a little. She joins him, helping him sweep the living room. From the bathroom doorway, he watches her and his eyes soften, thankful for Mi Young. The next morning, life goes on as usual. Young Min heads to work, already exhausted. His job isn't easy. He deals with lonely elderly people, many of them unreasonable. One old man shows up every single day, shouting and complaining, but everyone else ignores him. They know he's a troublemaker. Except for young Min. He tries to calm him and even gives the old man 10,000 won just so he can get home. Young Min smiles kindly, but deep inside, he wonders how much longer he can keep carrying everything alone. At home that evening, young Min finally settles down to work on his poems, his one true passion. But peace doesn't last long. The moment Mi Young notices the toilet seat is dirty, she starts nagging again. She tells him to lift the lid when he pees, then criticizes his old clothes, telling him to dress better and stop looking so shabby. One small complaint leads to another, and soon they're arguing again over the tiniest things. That night, young Min tries to be intimate with her, hoping to reconnect. But Mi Young turns away and tells him to go to sleep. He lies there, disappointed and quietly hurt. The next day, they decide to watch a movie together. But things take a turn when Mi Young unexpectedly runs into Jun-soo, her junior from art school. The two greet each other warmly, chatting and laughing. Young Min watches from the side, feeling invisible. Before they enter the theater, Young Min sarcastically tells Jun-soo, "You're so tall, the person behind you is going to suffer." But when the lights dim, fate plays a joke on him. It's Young Min sitting right behind Jun-soo. And throughout the entire movie, he fidgets, grumbles, and shifts in his seat, acting out in jealousy. Later, they go for a meal. Mi Young picks a few dishes she likes, but they're slightly pricier, so Young Min tells the waiter to bring cheaper noodles instead. Mi Young is annoyed. She confronts him. Why is he acting strange? Why did he embarrass her earlier in the cinema? Once again, the day ends in bickering. The next morning, both seek comfort elsewhere. Mi Young vents to her friend about how stingy Young Min has become. Meanwhile, Young Min meets his own friends and complains that Mi Young keeps flirting with her junior and doesn't even want to sleep with him anymore. His friend laughs and tells him the painful truth. Your honeymoon period is over. Welcome to real marriage. But just when the distance between them seems to grow, it pours heavily outside. Mi Young sees the downpour and without thinking twice, rushes out with an umbrella to wait for him. When Young Min comes home soaked and sees her standing there, his anger melts away instantly. He wraps his scarf around her neck, afraid she'll catch a cold. He apologizes for everything, and in that quiet moment under the rain, they make up again. The next morning, however, the cycle of doubt returns. On his way to work, Young Min finds himself being attracted to other women. Is this really it? Is his honeymoon phase truly over? Later, he meets his friends again and confesses his serious problem. He keeps getting tempted and cannot stop looking at other women. Then he learns that Mi Young is staying at her mother's house for the night. Feeling restless, he asks his friends to come over for drinks. But everyone's tired and they tell him to head home and work on his poems instead. When Young Min finally reaches home, he crosses paths with Seung-hee again. One thing leads to another, and they head out for more drinks. The alcohol loosens his thoughts, and caught between temptation and guilt, he suddenly blurts out, "You're beautiful." Those words hang in the air just long enough for the worst to happen. They start making out. For a moment, Young Min is swept away by excitement, but halfway through, regret hits him as he knows it feels wrong. And yet, instead of stopping, he leans in even closer. Just as he's about to kiss her again, he whispers something that ruins everything. He calls her by his wife's name. Seung-hee freezes, and she storms off angrily. Sometime around 5 a.m. Young Min drags himself home, disheveled, guilty, and exhausted. He runs into his landlord, who's out throwing rubbish. She stares at him in shock, unable to hide her judgment as she watches him stumble in like a cheating college kid. Minutes later, his phone buzzes. It's a text from Seung-hee, who tells him that they should just remain friends, and just like that, the entire incident is swept under the rug. The next morning, Mi Young returns home. She bumps into their landlady, who casually mentions how peaceful last night was as they didn't argue, especially since Young Min came home so late. Mi Young freezes when she learns that he came home only at dawn after drinking. She walks back home and questions Young Min if he drank the night before. He nods and lies, saying he only had a few drinks with his friends and came home early. She knows he's hiding something, but she says nothing. Later at work, Mi Young's boss introduces a guest speaker to her class, In Young, an art curator and her old schoolmate. In Young casually brings up Mi Young's ex-boyfriend Sung Woo, now a successful musical director, and says he's holding a new concert. The moment Mi Young hears his name, her heart stirs. On impulse, she buys 2 concert tickets. She dresses up beautifully, calls every friend she has, but no one is free to accompany her. Refusing to waste the night, she gets her hair done, and with a mix of excitement and nerves, decides to go alone. Meanwhile, Young Min keeps calling her, growing more anxious every minute when she doesn't answer. After the concert ends, Sung Woo spots her in the crowd. Their eyes meet, and he immediately chases after her. But panicked and embarrassed, Mi-young runs away and at one point even grabs a giant bear costume just to avoid being recognized. It doesn't work, and he finds her anyway. They end up talking, laughing, reliving old memories. For a moment she feels seen again. But in the middle of their conversation, her nose suddenly starts bleeding and Sung-woo gently helps her with it. Before leaving, he hands her his card with his number. She smiles shyly and sincerely wishes him success for his upcoming shows. And for the first time in a long while, her heart flutters. After the concert incident, Mi-young meets her close friend Yoon-jung for dinner. As they eat, she tells her that she and Young-min seem to fight over everything lately. Yoon-jung listens patiently, then reminds her of how hard Young-min worked to win her heart back then. She tells Mi-young that no relationship is perfect, but she should choose happiness, no matter what. While she's gone, Young-min makes himself a simple ramen dinner, waiting for her. When Mi-young finally walks through the door, the first thing he does is nag, asking why she didn't answer his calls. The tone instantly irritates her, so she throws the question back at him. Where did he go that night? Why did he come home at dawn? Young-min freezes for a moment, then pretends he doesn't remember. He quickly switches the topic, accusing her of flirting with Jun-soo at the cinema. Hearing this, Mi-young feels her patience snap. She tells him he's acting childish, and soon they're arguing loudly again. Ugly words, raised voices, old wounds mixed with new ones. But suddenly, in the middle of shouting, Mi-young locks herself in the toilet and cries. She tells him he's changed so much that he only looks for her when he needs something. Feeling guilty, he wraps his arms around her, trying to calm her. Then he notices the blood dripping from her nose. Alarmed, he wipes it gently and carries her to the bed so she can rest. But later, when he opens his laptop to finish some work, he sees something that makes his stomach twist. Mi-young had searched up on Sung-woo, her first love, and a quiet jealousy stirs. He goes to bed and carefully asks why she broke up with Sung-woo. Mi-young tells the truth. Sung-woo left her for someone else, but shortly after, he wanted to get back with Mi-young, but by then, she was already in love with Young-min. Hearing this makes Young-min's heart lift. He smiles and suddenly suggests they go on a picnic together that weekend, wanting to reset things, wanting to bring back the sweetness they lost. The next day, during work, Young-min visits a resident's home to fix a broken phone. That's when he realizes the owner is actually a famous poet, Mr. Pan. Later that evening, he shows Mr. Pan his own poems, the ones he dreams of entering into a competition. He reads them and says, "Your work is good." For a moment, Young-min feels hopeful again. The weekend finally arrives, and Mi-young and Young-min set off for a small adventure by the ocean. For the first time in a while, they feel happy together. It feels like the old days when love was easy. During the trip, Young-min surprises her with a necklace. Mi-young smiles at first, until she asks if it's real gold or silver. When he says she shouldn't be so fussy, her smile fades. She reminds him she's allergic to cheap metal. She remembers everything about him, but he can't even remember something so basic about her. Still, she forgives him, and the two continue enjoying their day. Then Young-min's phone rings. His poem had won a prize. The two celebrate by the ocean, jumping, hugging, completely overwhelmed with joy. That night, he visits Mr. Pan. They share a warm, simple meal together, almost like father and son. Mr. Pan reminds him gently, poetry exists for what is precious to you. The next morning, Young-min excitedly rehearses his acceptance speech in front of the mirror while Mi-young helps fix his blazer and tie. When she asks how her makeup looks, hoping for a compliment, he bluntly says it's too tacky. The words sting. Mi-young quietly murmurs that she doesn't even feel like attending the ceremony because she knows nothing about poetry, but Young-min's mother calls her, telling her to take lots of photos of her son. With no choice, they head to the venue. When they arrive, Mi-young is guided to sit in the back, and when Young-min goes on stage, she lifts her phone to take a picture, but then she freezes. Seung-hee is there, holding a bouquet of flowers for Young-min. During the ceremony, Young-min gives his speech proudly, but the moment he steps off stage, Seung-hee pulls him into a hug. Mi-young sees everything. Her face tightens, and she heads outside to calm herself down. Outside, she notices her skin breaking out. The necklace Young-min gave her has caused a rash. With no choice, she removes it. She opens Young-min's poetry book, the one he wrote about their marriage. As she reads, Seung-hee appears beside her and starts teasing her about it, making sly comments. Mi-young snaps. She shouts at Seung-hee, unable to hold back her anger anymore, and storms off. The next day at work, something tragic happens. One of the staff receives a call. Mr. Pan has been found dead. He suffered from a heart attack and was already dead for 3 days as he had no family left to notice or call for help. Young-min goes to Mr. Pan's empty house and sits there quietly, tears filling his eyes. The man who gave him courage, the one who believed in him, is now gone. Later, Young-min returns home exhausted and heavy-hearted. Mi-young gently asks if he knows a doctor she can see because she hasn't been feeling well. But he walks past her without replying, disappearing straight into the bedroom. Still, she tries again. She cooks a warm homemade meal and sets it in front of him. But after only a few spoonfuls, he walks away, saying he doesn't have an appetite. She tells him again that her stomach hurts badly, hoping he'll finally listen. Instead, he snaps that she's distracting him from his work and storms off to the bedroom. A little later, he goes out to the convenience store. Before leaving, Mi-young lies curled on the sofa, clutching her stomach in pain and calls out to him, but he ignores her. When he walks out of the house, he gets upset that she threw away the old books he brought home from Mr. Pan's house. With whatever strength she has left, Mi-young manages to call her mother. Moments later, she's rushed to the hospital. The nurse tells Young-min his wife has a fibroid cyst and needs urgent surgery. Mi-young's mother tells him to take her daughter to the testing room, but she's still wrapped up in his anger and wheels herself away, refusing to rely on him anymore. That night, when he finally sits by her bedside, Young-min tells her she should have told him she was in pain. She stares at him in disbelief as she has repeated herself multiple times. Then she says, "What's the point of living together if we live like this?" Then she says the words she's been holding inside. She wants a divorce. Young-min freezes in shock. He tries to calm her down and tell her they'll talk about it another time. Later that night, Young-min returns home alone. The apartment is quiet, and for the first time he realizes how empty it feels without Mi-young. His mind drifts back to the day they first met. It was a silly, accidental meeting as she had come for a blind date and mistaken him for her date, and he never corrected her because he was already drawn to her bright energy. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Mi-young learns the truth. Young-min wasn't ignoring her that night. He had been devastated after learning that the poet he admired all his life had passed away. She sits there quietly, replaying their memories. The misunderstandings, the way small arguments grew big because neither of them knew how to say what they truly felt. Outside, snow begins to fall. Young-min suddenly runs through the snow toward the hospital because the thought of losing her terrifies him more than anything. When he finally reaches her, Mi-young looks up in surprise. She tells him gently, "I didn't know you were having such a hard time." And for the first time, he doesn't hide. He takes her hand and says the words he's been holding back too long. "I love you." They sit together, watching the snow drift softly outside the window. He squeezes her hand, promising, "I won't let go. Not anymore." Mi-young has given birth to a cute little boy. Meanwhile, Young-min and Mi-young still argue every day over silly things, still get on each other's nerves, still drive each other crazy, but somehow their love is deeper than ever. Love isn't perfect, but it's choosing each other again and again, even on the days you want to give up.